Hello and welcome to the Tarig Motorsport Show podcast. I am your host, Tarig Waldron, aka The Big Ticket, here to talk to you about all things motorsport related that occurred within the past week or the past race weekend. And I'm here to give you, some updates on the motorsport world as well. This episode tends to run about 30 to 45 minutes, and sometimes it can run longer. But this episode is going to be about the DTM. The way that their season finalized, it wasn't the best. It was actually pretty controversial, and I think that they're actually going to be implementing new regulations about the ending or about the DTM season. Also going to be talking about the Turkish GP. This episode is relatively late. I had these notes down for a while, just never got around to actually sitting down and recording the podcast episode. And as well as NASCAR. We're talking about the Roval, and we are also talking about Talladega, just a little bit about Talladega. And then of course we have our quick bites. We have, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of gems, a little bit of information here and there. So if you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to rate it 5 stars on whatever streaming services that you listen on, and of course be sure to share it with your friends and family. Now, another thing is, if you enjoy or if you want to see the video version of this podcast, be sure to head on down to the link in the description box of wherever you're listening to, and there will be a link to the video and to the podcast and to the channel, all within that one link. So be sure to click that and check out the video version of this podcast. And if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button and be sure to share with your peoples. Now, moving on to the quick bites of information. I want to talk about it just a little bit. My racing gamers, all y'all out there, I know y'all sim racers, y'all F1 racers, the Assetto Corsa competition peoples, the iRacing people. Obviously, there are way better games to play on. But I'm actually want to dive into Gran Turismo 7 a little bit. It's coming out on March 4th, 2022, or at least that is the proposed date as of right now. Now, we know Gran Turismo has stepped away and has gone a little bit more arcadey than they have sim racing like. So, obviously, that is not really the place that a lot of veteran sim racers want to go. But for those just tuning in and those that just want to dive into it a little bit, who may not have a full setup going or anything like that, Gran Turismo, that series has been relatively good for people who are just coming into the beginnings of sim. Although Assetto Corsa and F1 are actually pretty good places to start as well, especially if you're on console. Gran Turismo is where I started, and personally I think that it was a pretty good place to start. Gran Turismo has had a pretty rich history when it comes to racing and stuff like that, and I'm glad to see that they're still here. I'm glad to see that they're still pushing forward. Graphically, it looks beautiful. I do recommend going out, watching these videos, and actually seeing what's happening graphically with these games, and actually diving into it. Another game that I want to talk about is Forza Horizon 7. Now, this is pure arcade fun. If you want to step away from sim racing, serious racing, and having to really sweat it out and race for countless laps, I'd recommend going Forza Horizon 7. Don't get me wrong, it's only available on Xbox and I believe PC, but still, all in all, if you have that, it's a fun game. It's a fun game to play, and I know that because I have played just about every single Forza ever made. Of course, Forza has gone from their racing, they're like kind of sim-like racing, to more so the open world, off-road, street racing type stuff. They have gone into that, and hey, all more power to them. But it is a fun game to play, and I'm sure, there are so many different gameplay videos out now, and there are so many different things out now about them, about the game, about Forza Horizon 7, that I do recommend that you check into, most definitely. But we continue to move on. Forza Horizon 7 is actually to be released November 5th, 2021, and GT7 is March 4th, 2022. So, hope the best for those games. And I really do hope that GT7 will be a promising experience for all the people who don't really play racing games but want to. That's kind of what I used it for anyway. That's what I used it for, and I ended up really enjoying it, and that pushed me more and more into racing games altogether. Forza was the beginning, but GT was the one that really, I don't know. got me into it all the way. You know, that really got me into looking into sim stuff and all that kind of stuff. That's what GT7 has done for, not GT7, but that's what the Gran Turismo series has done for me personally. We keep going. Another quick bite. Jimmy Johnson and Romain Grosjean, they have done their Indy 500 rookie testing. Now, technically speaking, they haven't necessarily gotten the stamp of completion yet because their testing session was cut short by some weather. And I know that as far as IndyCar is concerned, as far as the execs are concerned, they've pretty much passed the testing and all that kind of stuff. But of course, they do have to do a few more laps in order to get that full stamp. But they will be able to do that at the open testing, which occurs, I'm not sure when, but that will be their next opportunity for them to get those last bit of laps that they need to get in order to get the full stamp of approval to compete in the Indy 500. Now, Jimmy Johnson, he still believes he has a lot of work to do. He still believes, of course, he has a lot to narrow down on, because when it goes from NASCAR to IndyCar, it is a big change. And, you know, instead of going around those corners at 185 to 190 miles an hour, you're doing it at 215, 220 miles an hour. So it is a step up that he has to adjust to after racing in the NASCAR Cup Series for so many years. You know, you do get comfortable with the settings of that, and you do, you know, everything is kind of programmed to race like that. But he is gonna get the whatever adjustments he needs to make, and hopefully be able to compete in the Indy 500 next season. All in all, impressive work by those two guys, getting together, making sure that they got their rookie testing done, making sure that they got all that I don't know, what's the word, jitteriness out the way, anxiety out the way. I feel like that would be a better word. Getting that anxiety out the way. It's good to see that they're just looking forward to it, looking forward to the Indy 500, looking forward to the open testing, looking forward to the next season. Romain Grosjean has signed with Andretti Motorsport, a big name to sign into, but obviously it's Roman, so I feel like, or Romain, however you say his name, I say Roman. So I feel like he's actually going to probably be very effective. I believe his teammate is Helio Castroneves, right? I'm almost certain it's Helio. If it's not Helio, then it's somebody. I don't remember who his teammate is, but he has signed with Andretti Motorsport, and I do want to see him succeed very much so in the next season. He will actually be fighting for the title. This season was just a preparation, was just understanding what's happening. He didn't do too many of the ovals, but this season, next season, I believe, 2022 season, he is going to go for it. He's going to go full force, and he is going to fight for that title. I hope to see him succeed, honestly. And Jimmy Johnson, of course, is in the same boat. He wants to just get the oval testing and all that kind of preparations out the way, so he can also compete fully for the actual title. If I'm being honest with you, Jimmy Johnson, I don't think has that edge to get the IndyCar title, but hey, he is no stranger to winning. He is no stranger to racing. He's no stranger to competition. So more power to him. He's able to tackle whatever he needs to tackle and adjust wherever he needs to adjust. So good luck, Jimmy, and good luck, Grosjean. Now I am an old school kind of guy. I do take notes, so you might hear some paper flipping. All right, as we dive into, this is DTM mainly. DTM now, okay? DTM has a new official partner, or DTM Electric has a new official partner. MAHLE, or MAHLE Thermal Management, they have partnered with DTM Electric, and MAHLE, or MAHLE is how it's spelled. I don't know how to actually pronounce it. But their specialty is developing thermal management components, and they're actually going to be doing that for the DTM Electric series that's, formulating as we speak, developing as we speak. Their jobs basically is to develop, traction engines, transmission, and power electronics, stuff that can be regulated well. They're also looking into engine cooling components and keeping the I guess, batteries, keeping the batteries from overheating and all that good stuff. They are in the thermal management business. Now, this partnership allows further advancement in DTM and motorsport, and in the making of DTM Electric a actual reality. Sorry, I got a little tongue tied there. It's good to see that DTM are making their bounce back. It's good to see that they are, focusing on the future. Now I know sometimes that they've kind of slipped away from it and they've kind of fallen back. They've taken a few steps back, but I'm glad that they're coming forward. I'm glad that they're pushing, and I'm glad that they got a resurgence of not only fans, but resurgence of different racers. And I'm glad that they're coming back stronger than ever, and of course looking to the future with DTM Electric. Now this benefits MAHLE, however you say the name. This benefits them because this does fit into their strategy of creating sustainable technologies that they can utilize in the future for electric vehicles, that they could create and implement within not only electric vehicles but also other components and things like that, like electrical components in a computer or something, in that frame, maybe some high-end stuff, some really high-tech stuff. So I'm glad that they all understand where they're coming from. I'm glad that they understand that we're here because this comes in line with our strategy. This comes in line with what we see, with the vision that we see for the future, and DTM Electric is in the same boat. This correlates with what we are trying to do at this point in time and what we are looking forward to doing in the future. So I'm glad that this brings DTM Electric, whether it be a little bit or a big bit, closer to being an actual reality. That is something that I would like to see. Something I'm pretty sure is going to be very competitive too. So something that I definitely would like to tune into. Let me know in the comments what you feel about DTM Electric. I know that sometimes electric racing is not where a lot of people want to go. I know a lot of people, still like the petrol and all that good stuff, but DTM Electric it's going to be a reality. Electric racing is going to be a reality. I mean, it already is with Formula E. The Extreme E Series, it is already a full-on reality. And of course, as we push for more sustainability and more developments in technology, electric racing is going to take over by swarm. It's going to take over everything. But as you continue with DTM, round 8, the final round of DTM at the Norris Ring. Maximilian Götz, I'm pretty sure it's Götz. He pulls away with the title, and Liam Lawson, unfortunately, he lucks out. But I said that this was controversial. I said it was controversial for a reason. The way that it was is that Maximilian Götz was a few points behind Liam Lawson, and if the race were to continue the way that it was actually going, Liam Lawson would be our new DTM, our 2021 DTM champion. Unfortunately, Mercedes decided that they were going to steal this win and force their two lead drivers to slow down in order for their third place driver, Maximilian Götz, in order for him to get past them and steal the win away from Lawson. Now, they did win the Constructors outright. I do admit that. They've been doing well so far. Good job with them and getting the Constructors title outright. That was earned for real. But the driver's title, not so much. They decided to play the game of team orders, and of course they made their drivers slow down in order to allow Maximilian Götz to get in front, which, I mean, technically it's still acceptable. I can't lie, it is still technically acceptable. However, it's not how you want to see a race win gotten. You understand what I'm saying? It's not necessarily the way that you want to see things unfold. Liam Lawson, he outright earned with his race wins, positions, all that kind of stuff. He outright earned his top DTM spot. Maximilian Götz, on the other hand, didn't necessarily earn that last rate, that round 8 win, unfortunately. I mean, if the race continued, and no, the race couldn't even continue. It was only a few laps left at that point in time. I don't even think he would have caught up to the other two Mercedes drivers. So therefore, he wouldn't have won altogether. He wouldn't have won. But Mercedes following, making up their tactics, and doing what they needed to do to get that driver's title as well as that constructors title. They did what they needed. Now, yeah, like I said, with 3 laps left, they asked their 2 top running Mercedes, and one of them who was leading the race for quite some time, for literally the majority of that race. I believe he was leading for 50 out of the 67 laps or something like that, or 64 out of the 57 out of the 67 laps. I feel like it's 60, in the 60 region out of the 67 laps of that round 8. Asked him to slow down and took the victory away from him and gave it to Maximilian Gauss so they could get the driver's title. Don't get me wrong, hey, the more power to you, because that you do get the championship, you do get the W, you do get the win. However, I don't know. Smart for them to realize that that's all they had to do in order to get the victory. So more power to him. Maximilian Gauss, he barely got the win though, but he got about 3 points. So 3 points is still a gigantic difference in racing. So by all means, well, not a gigantic difference. It's not that big, but congratulations to him. Congratulations to the Mercedes team, and congratulations to, everyone that played their part in getting that W and getting those titles. But we all know Liam Lawson should have been the 2021 DTM champion. Should have been. He should have been. Now we could go into NASCAR, the Xfinity Series, the Charlotte Roval. I know, technically speaking, Talladega happened before that, but AJ Allmendinger, he wins his 3rd straight Roval, and he won by a pretty decent amount as well. He won by about 3 seconds. Originally, he did have a 9-second lead, but then there was a caution. I'm drawing a blank here, but I know that AJ Allmendinger, he did come away with the victory. Okay, there was something just before the ending of this race, just before it went into an overtime of, I believe, 2 laps. There was something that made these guys come in, and everyone put on basically fresh tires. Some obviously stayed out, but most of the drivers who were in that top spot, they came into the pits, got fresh tires, but they were threading the needle when it came to fuel. And the reason I say that is because AJ Allmendinger, coming into the checkered flag, 3-point-something seconds ahead, sputtered just before crossing that checkered flag, crossing checkered flag. He sputtered just before that, so I know that gas was definitely running low for everyone else as well. But it's good to see, and I think he even quoted it saying, "Wow, are you kidding me?" Realizing that he just barely made it to the end of this race. So obviously it was definitely something to see. Now, Daniel Hamrick, he deserves some praise for this race. He went from P13 and finished podium spot P3. I know that technically in NASCAR that podiums don't really matter. It's about who comes in first that gets the praise. But I just had to highlight that he did some impressive work going from P13 to P3 and finishing within the top 3. That is always an impressive feat, and you deserve some praise and you deserve some recognition. So Daniel Hamrick, good work. Good work to you. Good work on that. Oh, there was a wreck. Jesus, how did I not notice? Yeah, there was a wreck with Tommy Martins. He wrecked out with 4 laps to go or something like that. So hey, I lost my train of thought. Whatever. But the top 5 were AJ Allmendinger, Austin Cindric, Daniel Hamrick, Justin Haley, and Brandon Jones. Like I said, fantastic work by AJ with his 5th win of the season and his 3rd straight Charlotte Roval win. And of course, big praise to Daniel Hamrick for him coming in from that P13 and diving in for that P3. It impressive work altogether. 10 positions gained. I hope he got the recognition, and I hope he got the praise that he deserved for that racing and for that skill. Now we go to the NASCAR Cup Series, Talladega. I know we're still on Roval, but technically Talladega happened before the NASCAR Cup Series Roval. So, Bubba Wallace, he got his sweet, very sweet first victory for the Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin co-owned team 2311 Racing. It was a relatively controversial win with that as well. You know, I mean, in DTM, it wasn't necessarily how DTM was. It was more so just rain, just a early finish. A lot of people believe that he didn't necessarily deserve that win, or that it was, oh, he didn't actually win the race because, you know, yada yada, because it was a shortened race by the officials. But those still count. Last time I checked, there are several not legends, but there are several people who have gotten wins through that. There are several people who have fought through that and who have gotten wins because of shortened races. So I don't want to hear that this is not an actual race win. This is something that was deserved. He was in first at the time, and that it was done, and that's just how it goes in NASCAR. That's how it goes. But of course, there are fans out there who don't understand that a win is a win, whether it's by inch or a mile. A win is a win, and hey, he won through a red flag race. So by all means, still a W in my opinion. Still a W in NASCAR opinion. Altogether, in the official books, it's still a W. So I am proud of you, Bubba. You are definitely going to be a role model for the next generation coming up, especially people of race coming up who want to participate somehow in NASCAR. And of course, Brianna Daniels, she is, you know, the first African American on a pit crew, and she is a female. So I guess the first African American female, but no, just African American on a pit crew. So I'm not sure why she didn't receive an award. I know she's not a racer or a driver, but I'm not sure why she didn't receive an award for the diversity and inclusion. But I guess, yeah, you have to be a racer, so my bad. But that's another thing I do want to highlight. Tony Breidinger, Bubba Wallace, and I forget the last lady's name. I believe it might be Stephanie something. I forgot what her name is, but those three ended up receiving awards for their diversity and inclusion, and you know, that's about it. But like I said, Bubba Wallace, he definitely deserved that win. I'm glad that NASCAR, their social media was, you know, making sure that everyone got their eyes on Bubba, making sure everyone got their eyes on this race win. A lot of the fans were complaining about it, like, oh, why we got to see him all the time, and why we got to see him, and okay, NASCAR, chill out. I hope you support other racers like this, and this, that, and the fourth. And then there's a ton of people who's like, why does his race matter when he gets the victory, this, that, and the fourth? It's because has been a person of color to get a W in the NASCAR Cup Series since 1963. That's why. It's imperative that we get some role models out there. It's imperative that we get some people in first. It's imperative that we get some winners. It's imperative that we get more diversity in NASCAR as a whole. And I mean, don't get me wrong, NASCAR has actually fallen off a little bit when it comes to viewership. It has, because y'all don't get the entirety of fans that you could if you were just a little bit more inclusive. I know NASCAR has this long line of history of how it is, and you know, the racial tension and this, that, and the fourth. But if you guys were inclusive as of today, your viewership would skyrocket. Your viewership would skyrocket. You want to know something? A little tidbit. I went to a the opening Detroit Red Wings game. And you want to know what actually got me interested in this game was the fact that I believe I don't know his first name, but his last name is Smith, and I think his number was 41 or something like that. He was African American out there playing hockey, doing his thing, and I was like, I gotta tune into hockey a little bit more. I gotta see what hockey is about. Have I done it yet? No, I haven't. But I will. Either way, I don't know why I had to say that, but it's just he can be a role model to someone who's looking up to him. Someone of color, someone of race who is looking, well, I guess everyone is of race, but someone of color, someone of any of various backgrounds, someone who can look up to him. Bubba is that. Tony Breidinger is that. That's a female, by the way. Tony Breidinger is that. I forgot the next lady's name, but I believe it's Stephanie. I'm gonna just call her Stephanie for right now. Stephanie is that. She's Hispanic, I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's Hispanic. Bubba, African American. Tony Branninger, I believe it's like Egyptian type, Arabian type. I'm not 100% sure what their full backgrounds are. I do have to do more research on that, but they are not just Caucasian. But either way, they are the new role models. They are the new people who are, you know, the faces of representation within the NASCAR series and within NASCAR racing as a whole. So definitely something that I don't want to see shunted to the side. Something that should be put forth as it did with Bubba getting his W. Something that should be put forth as it did with when NASCAR was showing these three and their awards. With, you know, it's bringing more eyes onto NASCAR for one, and it's bringing more companies that well, I mean, it's NASCAR, so a lot of companies want to work with them, but it's bringing maybe, you know, different levels of competition, different drives now, different inspirations, and people who may, you know, 10, 15 years later say that this was the moment, this was the pivotal moment that shifted their eyes to NASCAR. You know what I'm saying? It's this types of moments, and it's this type of push that NASCAR needs to do every time. That, I mean, it probably won't happen often, but this is the type of push that I love to see when it comes to social media, and especially about his win, especially about Bubba Wallace's win. That's the type of push that I enjoyed seeing. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. To all the fans out there, I hope you also enjoyed it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, head on over to my Twitter at TheBigTicket07. There you will find, you know, all the tweets and all that kind of stuff, reposted, retweeted, whatever, in my thing, or you can just look it up on your own. You can look it up and get it there on my Twitter feed. Now, let's go to the Roval. Kyle Larson, he pulls away with win number 7. This man Kyle Larson is unstoppable, and unless he messes up greatly in the next race at the Texas Motor Speedway, I don't think he is. I think he's going to get the victory. I think he's going to get the title for this year. Not the regular season title. I'm talking about the actual driver's title. And I think he's going to pull away with the victory. Now, he did have some battery trouble earlier on in that race. I think they pulled him in, changed out the battery or something like that, and did they? I'm not sure. Either way, but he did have some battery trouble and charging issues at the earlier on in the race, and you know, his team, his pit crew, they did whatever they had to do to make sure that he stayed within the race. And you know, for a second, it looked like he was going to be out of this playoff race very early on. But I'm glad that his team was able to figure out what was wrong, was able to fix the issue, and was able to get him back out there. And of course, now he has a victory. He has another one, his 7th win of the season. This is more than he's had his entire career before 2021. So it's it's been a great season, a well-connected season, and I see him winning this championship. He has more race wins than any other driver this season. I see him winning this championship. He is not going to dial back unless there is some technical issue, mechanical issue. He is not going to dial back. He's going to just keep pushing forward and keep striving and get that W. I mean, it's only fair. It's only right. And another thing, he has a huge points lead leading into the semifinals at Texas Motor Speedway. He has a gigantic points lead over the rest of the competition. So it's not like things got to go really bad for Kyle Larson, and things got to go really good for whoever is his competition. I believe it's Denny Hamlin. In order for him to lose out on this championship. So just a thought. Now, will Kyle Larson be the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion? No idea. I feel like he is. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Do you think he has what it takes to become the NCS for 2021? And all that kind of good stuff, you know? All that kind of good stuff. But Harvick and Elliott are still going at it race after race after race after race. Harvick has actually got knocked out of this race after doing so much damage to the back of Chase Elliott's car. He got knocked out of this race. Karma is wonderful. Karma is beautiful. Karma is sweet. Kevin Harvick was getting on my nerves with his just sometimes relatively immaturity. Sometimes, I mean, don't get me wrong, Chase Elliott, they butt heads all the time, and there's a reason for that. They're both imbeciles sometimes, but I am glad that Harvick is out of this. Is out of the next. Is knocked out of basically title contention. And I'm glad that Chase Elliott is still within it. And of course, Chase Elliott, he still drove around with that rear end damage until he was actually able to get it fixed. And even then, it wasn't even fixed that well. Like, it wasn't no permanent solution to the problem. But definitely definitely an action-packed race for sure, and I do like the fight that did happen between Elliott and Harvick. I do like, those guys pushing and really racing and going hard and making sure that they stayed within the race, making sure that they did whatever they had to do to stay within the semifinals and all that kind of stuff. Now, locked in for the semifinal round is Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, and Martin Truex Jr. They are going to be at the Texas. Well, everyone's going to be there, but they are going to be competing at the Texas Motor Speedway. Sunday, October 17th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'm definitely going to tune in. I want to see this action. I want to see this racing, and yeah, I want to see the vibes. Now, stepping away from NASCAR, I did say I was going to talk about the Turkish GP. Unfortunately, I am a week late. The date on which I'm recording this episode is 10/16/21. So I'm definitely late on that. But first things first, I do want to talk about the rules and regulations of Formula One. Lewis Hamilton only changed basically half of his engine, one component of his engine. If you only change the ICE, and got a 10-place grid penalty. Now, I don't know why there were so many fans. And the thing is, it was a tweet put out by, I'm pretty sure, F1, and if not F1, then it was motorsport.com. One of those places, reputable. They clearly put that Hamilton received the 10-place grid penalty due to the fact that he changed out only the ICE within his engine. It clearly stated it. And then, not only that, there was a link to an article that dived into it even more. That clearly stated what the regulations are. That clearly stated why he got the penalty. But here we still have these imbecile fans, whether they just don't understand the regulations, or whether they're just brand new fans who don't understand all the rules of the sport, of all the rules of the motorsport. They don't seem to get it. He didn't change an entire engine, therefore, like Max did previously. There were so many people were complaining about the fact that he only received a 10-place grid penalty. It was like, oh my goodness, Formula One be making up its own rules for British drivers and for Lewis Hamilton. This is the commission of Hamilton and this, that, and the fourth, and oh, they're so Hamilton by it. And when they didn't even read what was said at the top of the article, for the actual tweet, and they didn't even read the actual article. Because if you did, within, I'd say, the first 7 lines, it is defined right there. It tells you right there why things are the way they are, why he only received a 10-place grid penalty. But people just didn't seem to understand. So I feel like people need to maybe we need a posting from F1 of just all the regulations. Just be like, just something, just a PSA, something. I don't know. Just to get these fans to understand why certain things are the way they are. Ain't nobody playing favorites. This is just how these are the regulations. These are the rules. All you got to do is read into them just a little bit, and you'll understand why certain decisions are the way they are. Don't get me wrong. Some things have been controversial, and some things have been really close, and they've just been, about the slightest bit of evidence over the slightest bit of fighting. Like some things have been controversial. I'll admit that. But this was clear cut as to why it was the way it was. I don't understand why these fans were coming in and having this whole debacle and all that kind of stuff, not understanding what's really happening. So for the fans that don't know anything, or for newer fans, please, before you open your mouth, dive into the regulations and figure out why things are the way they are, because they're that way for a reason. They're that way for a reason. Now, the F1 Turkish GP at Istanbul Park. Bad luck for Alonso and Gasly, I have to say. My man Alonso got spun out by Gasly because, I mean, Gasly wasn't being sandwiched, but I'm going to use that terminology. He was being sandwiched between Perez and Alonso. Alonso was on the outside. Perez was on the inside. I don't know why neither one of them backed out. I guess maybe Pierre should have backed out, but no. He had that inside, technically. Perez obviously had the inside line fully, but not Pierre. Perez, yeah, I think I said it right. Anyway, Perez had the inside line fully, but Gasly did receive a 5-second penalty, which he did serve within the race for spinning out Alonso. And I'm pretty sure he got 2 points on his license too, which sucks because that was a little harsh. That was a little harsh because I don't think he deserved to get points on his license. If I'm certain about this, please let me know in the comments if I'm incorrect, because I really do believe that he did receive 2 points on his license. At least I seen it pop up somewhere quickly. Somewhere it popped up, but I know he received a 5-second penalty, which he did serve within the race. So there's that. But at the start of the race, that is what occurred. Lewis Hamilton, he stayed clean through all the commotion, and from there he just went on his charge and charged through the field. I also want to talk about Carlos Sainz. Now, Carlos Sainz, obviously, he is going to overtake a ton of people and get back into the points. For the most part, his car is faster than all the other cars that he passed. Relatively. Don't get me wrong. The other guys, they have skill. They got the talent. But Carlos Sainz has been fairly remarkable this season. Him and Charles Leclerc have actually been pretty neck and neck this season as well. I believe Carlos Sainz is a half a point above Leclerc, so more power to Sainz. But I do know that they're neck and neck. So as of right now this season, the Ferrari drivers are battling each other. But big props to Sainz for overtaking so many people and getting back into the points, going from last place to P8. So good work by him, and definitely glad that he's succeeding with Ferrari this season. Now, I do want to talk about that little battle between Perez and Lewis Hamilton, you know, when they were going wheel to wheel for a couple of turns. That was definitely some remarkable action. Sad that LA didn't get that position back, but I'm glad that they stayed clean. I'm glad that they fought. Now, there was that little that little hiccup when Hamilton basically almost pushed Perez into the pit lane. I mean, not almost. He did kind of put him into the entrance of the pit lane. And he did end up correcting himself. Hamilton did correct himself. It wasn't something that he was trying to do, forcibly. He did correct himself to allow Perez to get back on and in the race and in the fight once again. So I don't want to hear nothing about that. I don't want to hear no commotion about that. But where was I going? I don't know where I was going. Either way, but it was a nice little fight, a nice little back and forth going on between them, and Hamilton got the position by about a half a car, a little bit, and Perez just overtook it right back after that. Now, this race was like I believe they had a new tire compound called, well, they're like, I don't know, they're intermediates basically, but they operate kind of like slicks in it, but they operate at a much cooler temperature, and they were pretty good for this race. Definitely good for this race. Not a lot of traction issues, but Sebastian Vettel, this is what I call him, he definitely he tried a little bit to see if he could get the mediums to work, which he was not able to do because he was sliding all over the place, and you could tell the significant loss of speed immediately because he couldn't handle the car. He couldn't handle with literally zero traction whatsoever. So it it was a questionable decision, but we know that, you know, Seb had something to do with it, and then they had to work together on the team side to see if it would be beneficial, because they thought that the track was kind of drying up for the most part, and he thought that maybe I can make it work, you know, get temperature into him and then really have that good grip. But unfortunately, that was not the way to go, and Seb went from having a basically went from having what could have been a points finish to finishing damn near last. Now, I also want to talk about Hamilton and Mercedes strategy on pitting on lap 51 of 58. I don't know why they didn't just let Hamilton continue, and maybe he would have caught Perez and finished at least on a podium or something like that. Not sure why they pitted him with the race almost over. They were supposed to pit earlier, I do know that, but Hamilton literally was like, why? I'm not doing that. That doesn't sound right. But then proceeded to pit on lap 51 of 58. So I'm really not sure what the decision making was at that point in time. I really do hope that next race they understand to get their strategies right and get it down pat. It did suck that Hamilton was not, you know, given that pole position. And I think FIA is going to take a look at their regulations again, because a lot of drivers are kind of, not a lot of drivers, but fans and some drivers are a little upset about it, or they're a little confused about how someone can do so well and all that kind of stuff in qualifying and actually earn the pole position, but because of penalties and stuff like that, they lose out on that pole position, because technically they do not line up first on the starting grid of the feature race. But they did have the fastest time at the end of qualifying, so therefore that is the definition of what the pole position is, not how the lining up on the sprint race is. But FIA has their own rules for it, so no pole position for Hamilton. It goes to Valtteri, although I think Hamilton already signed signed the tire for him. I mean, he has so many already, he ain't got nowhere to put them. But that's all I have to say. Now, I do want to talk about Leclerc. He did honestly have a pretty good race, finishing fourth, 12 points on the finish, which is really good, really good. He wasn't first for a little while, I'm pretty sure, but he got passed like he was standing still, if I'm being honest with you. I'm pretty sure he just let them by because he just couldn't defend the way he wanted to. But he did finish fourth, so I'm glad that he did finish off in the top 5. Glad that he did finish off with some decent points to finish off, to finish the race with. Then we have Valtteri. Of course, he gets first. Max Verstappen, he gets second. Sergio Perez is third. Charles Leclerc fourth. Lewis Hamilton is fifth. He did receive 10 points, and then Pierre Gasly is sixth with 8 points. Now we can go to the Drivers' Championship. Let's talk about the point standings. We got Max Verstappen at 262.5, and we have Lewis Hamilton at 256.5. So they have a tough fight ahead. 6 rounds to go, and a 6-point difference between the two, between the two championship rivals. So this is definitely something that I would like to see unfold. I know that these guys are going to go at it. I know that they're going to probably clash again. So I do. I can't wait for these next few rounds to start up. I can't wait. Cannot wait. Now, as we go into the Constructors title, the Constructors Championship points, Mercedes has 433.5, where Red Bull has 397.5. Perez has to finish a little bit more consistently within the points, within the top tier of the points, in order for Red Bull to kind of come back and be effective, because Valtteri and Lewis Hamilton usually relatively always finish within the points. So it's gonna be a pretty good fight between those two constructors, and I also want to see this come down to a nail-biter finish as well for the constructors title. And another thing, McLaren and Ferrari. McLaren has 240 and Ferrari has 232.5. This battle for for third is going to be better than the battle for first in the Mercedes and Red Bull fight, constructors fight. I want to see Ferrari and McLaren go at it, because they've been just trading places on the board, trading, and I'm glad. I'm glad that these two are pretty much having a nice little race going on right now, having a nice little fight. And I don't think a lot of people may have been paying attention to it, but you know, it is they're the rivals for this season. And I want to see this come down to a nail biter as well. That's all I really got to say to that. All in all, though, it was a great race. It had good action, and I mean some decent battles too. It sucks that my man Pierre ended up getting that 5-second penalty, and those 2 points on his license. If he did actually get that, they might not have done that, but I believe that was a determination that was coming up. But all in all, still a great race. Still wonderful action. I love to see it. Next up is Circuit of the Americas, right? I think next up is COTA. So woo! I can't wait to see that. I love COTA. But all in all, the W Series is also going to be starting up in COTA too. This is their last 2 rounds. So I'm definitely going to be tuning into that as well. So next podcast episode, I will be talking about all that good stuff. But that is it for me. That is it for the show. I want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, be sure to rate this episode. Be sure to rate this podcast 5 stars and share with your people, share with your friends, share with your family. And all in all, always remember to live your life, enjoy your day, and have a wonderful time. Peace.